Hey everyone, this is Ultra Runner. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the newly released Mafex Medicom number 202 Captain America stealth suit. Now, I've already put up a video on this one, really going over the fix for his arm, so I'll definitely link that in the description below. But I'm going to just kind of jump in and take a quick look at this guy here. I do have him alongside of all the other caps from SHF and from Mafex as well. Not really going to do a comparison in this video, but just kind of have them out because that video will be coming. But let's take a quick look at this guy here. I would definitely say this is probably, I can get this to focus, probably pretty good Chris Evans set sculpt. It's really similar to the one that came with the in-game. It's just a little blonder, probably a little bit better paint job. There we go. But across the board, definitely not bad at all, just to start off. And this is really kind of the way you saw him, I don't think most of the movie, but, for Winter Soldier, I mean, he was in that gear without the head, the mask on a lot. You do get a grit teeth, face, head sculpt. Pretty good one. And then you have a standard, just neutral foes, a neutral looking. Yeah, I mean, and you can tell it's Chris Evans in the mask, so definitely not an issue. Comes with a bunch of different hands. Comes with pointers. Two very well sculpted fists. Good paint on them too. Mine's got a little bit of a blemish on it. You've got the shield throwing hands with the little attachments already on it. You kind of see those on the bottom. And those do come off if you don't want to use it that way. You've got two relaxed hands. Kind of splayed out. And then he comes with, and I've got one of each on him now, but he's got the pinching hand, which is the one on the right, which is what you use to hold his mask. And then he's got, like, I guess really the best example of the gripping hand for the shield, but I prefer the fist, and they don't actually have a closed version for that now on this one here. You get, a standard shield, very clean. And then you get, of course, the stealth shield here. And then lastly, you get this thing, which is probably the most frustrating piece of equipment I've ever used with any of these figures. But this is how you put his shield on his back. It looks horrible. Doesn't look good at all. SHF did it way better with just having the piece that you remove out of the back to plug in. I don't know why Mafex had to complicate that, but it's very complicated and not really that good at all. This mask here is not the same one from in-game. It's actually a lot bigger. It actually looks like it can go rotate, even though it can't. Whereas the one from in-game was like just very tiny. But like I said, I'll do a comparison video on that later. Again, you got his shield. And then, across the board, they did a lot of great improvements on here. The shoulders are much better. You've got the detail around the waist. The torso have definitely gotten better. Articulation is really the same. You got the boot swivel down here, which is actually not bad. This thing did have some QC issues out of the box. Like I did the video about the gauntlets here, how these forearms were literally on the wrong side of the body, so I had to swap them, which, you shouldn't have to do with a $100 figure. And then the other thing is I'm having some issues down here with range of motion. So this ankle here barely moves, and this one here has tons of motion. And looks like the peg is too short, or the hole is too deep into the foot or to the shin. But regardless, it's kind of annoying. I mean, granted, he's not going to be posing dynamic. I'm going to have him just standing, neutral. But outside of that, that was pretty much a bummer. I didn't really like that at all. But aside from that, I mean, they got rid of the really ugly gaps in the shoulders like they used to have on the other Mafex. The other caps, I mean, they're pretty horrible with that gap there. It's still not as clean as like the SHF, but the details of the suit is pretty stellar. I mean, I'm hoping that SHF does the same thing so we can kind of get a comparison. The one neat thing I'll talk about too is they really sized Cap up this time, and he's gotten physically taller. So let me see if I can get him to stand. It's weird for the situation. This is, like I say, a little bit of a problem. But he is actually the biggest cap that's out right now, for for import. So I look at the most recent, for SHF, and SHF typically run a little smaller, but I mean, that's noticeably smaller. They're usually not that much smaller. But even compared to, let me see if I can get this one off here. But just for a side by side with the existing cap from in game, and you can see here, and like I said, there's no drop down being used, so I'm not using a drop down or push all the way up. No. But you can see they're side by side. I mean, there's still there's still a little bit more height than this one here. So they did bulk them up a bit. Again, I talked about the whole shoulder issue right there. And I'm going to do a comparison video if you guys want to see that. But I know a lot of people already talked about how wonky these old caps were. If you want them, you got to have them. But it is what it is. But across the board, articulation, like I say, it's didn't really suffer this time. You got great articulation here. Great torso movement. Really good ab crunch. Leg articulation, knees. Like I said, that foot's an issue, but you got swivel at the boot. But like I said, yeah, across the board, I mean, what you expect from Mafex, definitely not a slouch in the articulation department. Was he worth the wait? For sure. I mean, this is an iconic suit. Since he wore this in like literally 2 movies. And the shield, of course, is super cool because he only used it really that one time. So it's pretty neat to have this version of Cap out. Would I've liked it to have been a little bit better, for sure. But across the board, I would say this is definitely worth it if you want to pick it up. The great thing is you got a second shield here that if you want to throw that on a cap that doesn't have one. So like the Infinity War versions or something like that, and it's just a good clean shield. The good thing about the Mafex as well versus the SHF is you don't have to have a hand pegged into the shield. It's actually just a loop, so long as you have a fist or an open hand. Like for him, I'm just using the open splayed hand through it to get it in there. So, and this connector here, but frustration with this character figure, this is definitely one of them. This is the worst contraption ever created, next to that piece for the back. But outside of that, it's Cap, so I have that one, so this just adds to my collection. So that's now every SHF and every Mafex cap out. And then we have the Infinity Saga version coming out in, I think, July, and then we have the comic version coming out. So we'll see what SHF does in the meantime. But for right now, I would say Mafex pretty much has it. With the ones he released recently, they're pretty stellar. But I do like the fact that I have, the entire SHF. You can go from first movie to the last movie, which you can't do with, well, I guess you can't go to the very first movie, but you've got, your Infinity War, anywhere, old Age of Ultron, you've got Civil War, you've got Endgame, you've got technically the regular Avengers movie, so you can just do a lot with SHF, where you can't do it with Mafex. But that aside, great figure. It does have its issue, does have its quirks, and I have a feeling this is going to be one of those ones that's going to go, and then you'll never see it again. It'll be $200, $250 on the market, like the Endgame one is. So check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed the vid, and if you did, smash that like, comment below. Thanks. Later.